today. Sorry, lady, he gets a little. I was touching somebody ate on here, not me. I mean, I did, but I didn't crumb it. Welcome to Let's Talk, ladies. I am so glad that you guys decided to make it your business to be here, even though I forgot what day of the week or month I was supposed to do this. And so it's supposed to be the third Tuesday each month. Last month didn't have one at all. Got an extra job or two or three, and I was called in to work on more than one of them. And on top of that, my allergies were crazy. And I was like, all right, it's okay. We'll get through it. And then so help me this month, I guess with Easter and all the sugar rush to my head, I forgot that it was supposed to be the third Tuesday instead of the second Tuesday. And Easter got in there and I went crazy. So forgive your pastor's wife. She's getting there. She's old. She can't help it. Christina, will you do me a favor and open us up in prayer, please?
Dear Lord, thank you for the wonderful day you've given us, Lord. Please watch over Selena as she hears your word, Lord. Please open our eyes, hearts, and ears that we take in what you have us to take in and be able to go out and spread your word. And thank you for everything you've done. Amen.
Amen. I tell you what, God really blessed Sunday. I don't know about y'all, but I thought that was probably one of the best Easters. I thought it was wonderful seeing all of the children and the families and people coming out. I couldn't believe that we had like 50 something for sunrise. That's awesome. All right. And Jimmy and I were just going through naming off people that we had seen here at church and ended up probably were more, maybe less. I might have created people and didn't realize it, but ended up having like in the high 90s at church. It honestly feels like finally 3 years later, we might be coming out of the whole COVID keeping everybody bound up thing. I'm very excited about it. I'm really, really hoping that we can see growth continue. I was hoping that my Greenville people would be here tonight. I haven't seen them or heard from them besides one saying she's planning on coming, but you know what? Life happens. We just go on and we have fun with it. Tonight's topic is a very interesting one. If you do me a favor, Sister Tammy, and turn to Ephesians 4:29. I'm going to make sure that my phone is cut off so it won't go ringing out crazy. After just I claim a physical touch from Sunday. God just moved in my back, and I have felt good all week. Today, I've been here since about noontime. Sometime I sent it to you. It was around noon, wasn't it? Okay. Well, I just want you to know I have felt wonderful all day, been able to do stuff. 11:30. So it was around noontime. In my world, that's around noontime. But, oh, look, there she is. That's all right. It's all right. Come on in. Somebody passed them a bowl of jelly beans. Easter candies half off, so you guys get some Starburst jelly beans today. Never mind. Miss Amy has to eat them all then. All right.
No, when I was a kid, I favored myself.
Oh. You know, you can't go many places and people understand the foundering of something anymore. You know that? Good afternoon. Wonderful. Look at that. I'm proud. Have any of you others been able to keep up with your whole one day to be great one
Mine
thing?
stays in my Bible right there, so when I open it up, it's there, and I'll never forget.
All right. She automatically wins a prize because she got hers back filled in. All right. Everybody else will draw for some stuff. But those 4 different things right there, you get to pick one. You got 2 wall decorative things, a set of shelves, and absolutely not, I believe you. And the cute little mug. I thought it was precious because it said "Bloom where you're planted." You know, a lot of people don't do that. They'll come to church and they'll sit there like a knot on a log, but then they'll go out here and they'll work themselves to death on a public job. You know, they'll kill themselves everywhere else. But in church, it's like, oh, I'm here. I'm just going to relax now. Y'all take care of everything else, and let's see how it ends. I'm so glad that y'all weren't like that. So glad. Because I've experienced a whole lot of churches that it's like that. Our church isn't like that, and I thank God for it. But today, our topic, and boy, it's a big one, it's communication. Yeah, that's been heavy on my mind, and I'll tell you what really started it for me would be my daughter. She's 11. She likes to help her mother out. Actually, she likes to tell me when, Mom, you're really being rude right now, or Mom, don't try to one up somebody, or Mom, should you have said that right then? So we're going to talk about some of these different things, not just what to say, but there's a whole lot in how you say it. There's a whole lot in not only what you say or how you say it, but maybe when you say it.
Yep.
Might be a reason of why you said it, okay? And we're going to talk about every single one of these things, all right? A couple more things. If I could bother you to find me pieces of paper, which I think in my office, and a pen. Oh, she's got paper and a pen right here. I want you to look. Ephesians 4:29. And if you're watching online, I'm really glad that you showed up with us. It's going to be a great topic. Communication with a bunch of females. Lord Jesus, take the wheel.
Ephesians what?
4:29. Ephesians is a wonderful chapter.
Look at this.
There's good reason that that's all highlighted. But I'm going to write a word. And hopefully it will show up okay. I'm a little dry. All right. So if you can see, here's the word I'm going to show everyone. Okay. All right. So you'll see that word. You see that? Don't say it out loud. You see it? Tell me what's the word?
Nowhere.
Nowhere? Everybody says it's nowhere.
Now here.
You say now here.
Now here. Oh, okay. Now here.
Do you
Okay.
see now here?
Yes.
A lot of people look at Jesus just like looking at this word. Is Jesus nowhere? Or is he now here?
Wow.
It's all in how you look at something. It's all in how you perceive something. Are you positive? Are you negative? Nowhere? Sadly, and that's exactly what I see when I look at this word. It's a little bit more of the negative viewpoint. We live in a negative world. We live in a negative society, okay? Anything we look at in the news, it's not usually uplifting. It's not usually something that I'm like, hey, quick, Mayor, you need to turn this on and listen to it. Usually it's something of, oh, don't let the kids see that. Cut that off. I don't want to hear that junk anymore, because it's such a negative context. But at the same time, we being females, a whole lot of time, we focus on some negative aspect of life, especially if we have children. Because what do we have to do when we have those children? What does that mama hen do when she fluffs them feathers out? She protects them babies. And that's just exactly what we do each and every day, is we protect the babies. And it gives us a natural, we're looking for everything bad. I used to tell my mom, I'd be like, Mommy, you're so negative. Why are you focusing on all the bad? And she's like, I'm not trying to focus on the bad. I'm trying to see everything that's going to be the problem before it gets to you. You ever thought your mama was the most negative person you ever, met? No, she never came across to you a little negative, trying to protect little Christina. Maybe a couple of times.
But
Have you ever had your kids tell you, Mater, that, Mom, you're just a downer. You just stop us from doing everything?
Yeah.
Well, why would that be with those two precious, sweet little boys?
You tell me.
They get into everything. Why do we have the protective plates that go over every plug-in in the house? Because somebody started sticking stuff in them.
That's right.
Not me, my sister, but started sticking stuff in them things until finally accidents happen, right? And then it's always those people that say, I never thought it would be my kid. Well, while I was listening, oh,
The day after Adrian turned 2, he had to get 7 stitches.
nice.
And
Chasing through the living
I
room.
said, we're running 100 times.
My mom would tell us sometimes, girls, don't try to ride the same bike at the same time. Somebody's going to get hurt. Well, my sister, being my sister and smarter than me, she would always put me as apparently the engine, because the little engine that could, it kept on pedaling and going, but this little engine can't, all right? So this little engine fell off the bike and she landed on me. The bike landed on me before she landed on the bike, actually. It was not a pretty sight. All right, she would go chasing me through the yard, and Mom would say, you're going to end up hurting her, because even starting in high school, I was 4 feet 11 inches tall. I grew out of it. All right, but starting high school, my sister in the 5th grade was 5'9". There was a bit of difference in our size. So she would take off chasing me throughout the yard, and Mama would be hollering, girls, you need to quit that. You're going to end up killing somebody. Well, I was usually the one that got killed, because I fell one time while she was chasing me, popped this pinky back to my arm. Well, I thought, oh, I just stubbed that up. Let's get up. Let's run again. Because we just thought Mama's negative. By the way, it was broken. I had to wear a splint on that thing for most of my 7th grade year. But anyhow, and it was basketball season. You can't play good with that. Anyhow, I was listening to a minister earlier today, and he was speaking about communication, and he said, God has 2 poles that stick up, and what we say needs to go through those 2 poles. Have you ever seen these kind of poles? If you get through these poles, you end up scoring, right? You go out here and it's kind of, no, it's not quite what it's supposed to be. But you hit it right between these 2 uprights. They call them the uprights. When somebody kicks a field goal or they get the extra point or whatever, what does that referee do? Woof! Both arms right up, right? One of those uprights should have the word truth. The other one needs to have love. If what we say when we communicate doesn't fit between the uprights for truth and love, it's time to shut the mouth. Now, I'm telling this to y'all because I need to hear it. I need greatly to hear it. I used to tell my kids, I had this little analogy, and I'd say, oh, you don't speak unless you think. And that means as you think, is it true? Does it have to be said? And I started thinking about another analogy today. And that analogy today was the word silent. Do you know that the word silent and the word listen have the exact same letters? L-I-S-T-E-N. S-I-L-E-N-T. Exact same letters. They're just shifted around a little bit. Listen and silent. Guess what you can't do if you're not silent? Let's see. I'll look around this room. Yes, I see husbands that used to be, going to be, maybe, tried to be, with every single one of us, right? Have you ever had that tried to have that conversation and they never looked at you? Or they were talking. They might have been even talking to the dog. I've gotten upset before because Jimmy wasn't quite listening when I was telling him something because he was telling the dog to go outside. He wasn't being quiet. He wasn't silent, so he couldn't have been listening. Or have you tried to tell somebody something and they're watching TV?
Yeah, buddy.
Even when it's on the commercial, when they tell you, please only talk during the commercials, don't talk through the actual show that I'm watching. And you try and they still, there's nothing. It's like they're in a coma. And finally you look over and you're like, hey, and you call them by name. They're like, huh, what? Hey, what did I just say? Yeah, you was talking something about something. I don't know. How frustrating is that? But have you ever put yourself in their shoes? To imagine, would I be the same way if I was having to listen to me? Let's just let that one soak for a second.
As Jim says, let it base.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Sometimes you gotta let it soak in. You can't really listen if you're not silent or phone's going off.
God is on the move.
God is on the move. Amen.
Well, I'm over here in SOS mode, so I.
Okay. That's the same old stuff. Anyhow. But if I had to sit and listen, I really, one day, because Jimmy is like, boy, have you ever noticed when you get home, you have a whole lot to say about your day and everything that went on in it and everything that you said to anybody or heard from anybody or everybody that you ever saw and all the parents or all the kids and any happening and maybe how many times you went to the bathroom. Yes, as a school teacher, I would report that in to my husband. Went one time today, one time.
It's usually my husband that does that. And he comes, whatever has upset him the other day, he comes.
And see, that's when you have to realize, would I want to listen to me? Jane, would you want to listen to you?
Gosh, no, I do.
Why not?
I get irate and too intense.
How about
I was
you?
told today that if you can only hear yourself, you're getting too intense and overthinking this thing.
Oh, I never.
Usually I get on my own nerves, so.
Amy Cuba?
Well, since I started working, this is funny, so I started working at the diner, and then I come home, and just like what you said, it's like, this happened, and Ken's just kind of like,
Yeah.
you can just tell, it's like, he just kind of like turned it. But what's funny is when I used to pick up Ashlyn from her job, and we'd be in the car the whole way home, non-stop talking. She'd be like telling me all about it. But now it's like full circle. It's like I completely understand.
I get it. Because my daughter, same way. When she was in school, I taught at the same school that she went to until she was in 8th grade. On the ride home, back and forth, and Jimmy, she would unload with me, so she didn't unload as much with her daddy. Well, then she goes to college. And let me tell you, when she come home on those weekends, that's how he described it. And he finally look over while she's in the middle of still talking in the back seat, and he'd look at me and he'd go, and I'm like, Jim.
But at the same time, it's important.
It is.
You have to value what she's saying.
Yes, you do.
And when I come home and I want to talk about it, I kind of think what I have to say is important too.
Yep.
You know,
It's very much important. Now, Christina, you're about to enter a wonderful world of marriage. It's great. Just ask any of us. We'll all tell you our opinion, whether you want it or not. But
it's amazing.
have you ever, or has he ever come home after a bad day on the job?
Yes.
And Is he the sweetest thing you've ever met still yet? He may be, I don't know, but usually they start showing some true colors closer you get to marrying them. So has he ever had a bad day on the job and come home and you're like, why you been so hateful to me? I didn't do nothing to you. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I did that a lot. Well, and vice versa too. I probably take a lot out on him too. And that's what I was just telling Mom. Like Morgan and Corey asked me and Dayton to do their Sunday school. Yeah, of course. And literally the title is communication. And I said,
Is it really?
yeah. When I opened it up, and I already, like, me and Dayton had already been like already about different things, just
Yeah.
to it over smaller things.
Little stuff that once you look back on, you're like, that's the stupidest thing to fuss about.
And so we fuss at each other, and then after we sit and we think, we're like, wow, we were totally jerks to each other. So then we apologize.
Yeah.
But it, when I was reading it, and then I talked to him, and I said, this is what we're doing it about. And he goes, wow. And I said, yeah, so I really need to apologize. I said, I've been really mean. So I thank God for
Opening your
allowing that
eyes.
to be. And then you also, and I looked at Mom, and I was like, wow, he's really stepping on my
Mine
heart
same
tonight.
thing
So,
is-
but it's what I mean.
When God knows, well, God kind of knows it all. And sometimes he has to get a hold of us to make us see it. And there have been many things, and especially since trying to be a pastor's wife, that I've feel like I've learned. I know I struggle on a lot of it, but I'm really trying my best to develop better communication, because better communication isn't talking.
Just listening.
Better communication starts with listening.
And also thinking about what's coming out of your mouth too.
Yeah, you have to plan what's coming out. But here's something else that we do as females. We're planning what we're going to say next while they're still talking. How are we focusing on what's being said when we're planning what we're going to say as a comeback?
You can't.
You can't. That's why it's so important. Sometimes that little bit of silence is a good thing. When someone is talking to you, I said one of the things we'd be talking about is what you're saying. Well, as Christians, we know what we're supposed to say.
Mhm.
We're supposed to always talk about the truth. We're supposed to say everything that is Bible-based. You make sure and do the right thing, that kind of stuff. Don't you go out here spreading lies. And we have a pretty decent job at doing that. I don't have to really look at people and say, hey, you lying. Yeah, you're never going to find a church full of saints.
No.
It's not going to happen. There are going to be people that lie. They can be younger, they can be older, they can be in between, but you're going to have people that lie. It happens when people get nervous, when people think that they're doing something that, I'm caught, I'm going to be in trouble. That's one of the first things they do. They'll try to kind of lie their way out of it. And it's a form of protection. Okay? It's just a form of protection. Now, I'm not going to focus a long time on always tell the truth. You're grown women. If you don't know by now to tell the truth, there's not a whole great deal that I can do or say besides just pray for you and hope for the best, because by now, if you're a Christian, you should know, tell the truth. Well, where do we find the ultimate truth? Jesus. And where did he? Yeah, in the Word. When you're wondering, I've had situations in my life that I wondered, man, which way should I go? What should I do? What is the truth? And a person tell me, hey, I got this scripture for you. I need you to read this. I really think this will be better. And the way they wanted me to understand it better is not what I took from it, but it helped me understand the exact opposite way. And God got a hold of me the exact opposite way. I still thank them for the scripture, even though it wasn't what they were thinking. It still helped me align myself. And I was eating this one time at this place and went up to pay. And when I got up there to pay, I saw this sign, and the sign said, Lord, please have your arm around my shoulders with your hand placed firmly over my mouth. And I thought, you know what, that sign's for me. We don't always have to talk. Sometimes when you get home, you may not feel like talking. Your husband or your significant other or whoever's in the house with you, they may not feel like listening. And when communicating, we need to look for telltale signs. Okay? If they look like they're bored out of their mind, they probably are. If they have the look of, oh dear Lord, I am about to fall out right now if I listen to another word from you, they probably are. My most favoritist, I love saying this because it's really not good English. Anyhow, my most favorite, wonderful teaching partner ever. I've had, okay, maybe I can't say he's my most favorite because I've had some of the best teaching partners throughout my career. In 25 years of teaching, I had some awesome partners. And every single one of the guys, I had several male teaching partners throughout the years, and they were all just wonderful. And praise God, they were all Christian. And not just Christian, but like really Christian. Like they would speak at their church. They were deacons. They were a preacher. The one, my last one, is now the pastor of a church. He quit teaching altogether just to pastor. He's been here and preached for us a few times. Love him to death. But there's this one, I'll say he was the oldest that I ever had as a teaching partner. I'd go in, and that's back when I was still young and had a whole lot of emotions, and I wanted to share every opinion I ever had and every opinion I thought you should have. And I'd go in there and I would just be right and left. And he would do this every time. He'd be sitting at his desk. He'd be, going over the papers. I'd go in there and I'd be, hey. And he would immediately give me this. And he'd look me straight in the face. And the whole time while I was talking, he'd be like, yeah. And I don't care if I went 2 minutes or 20 minutes. This was it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when I'd get finished, he'd look at me and say, you done? And I'd be like, yeah, thanks for listening. Be like, all right. He'd get back just like that. Needless to say, he'd been married for a mighty long time by the time he was my teaching partner, and I love him to death. But it takes a long time to get that through here. And it takes even longer, I dare say, for females. Because it goes on and on. You see, God made us as multitaskers. So, yeah, we do a lot of stuff, but we're constantly planning ahead, are we not? We got to think about what clothes the kids are supposed to be wearing tomorrow. Wait, were those clothes even washed last week? Are they clean? Do they have socks that actually match? How about underwear? I haven't even been through their room to look under the bed to see if they hid anything this time. Oh my goodness, I've got to get supper. Is anybody going to be coming over to visit tonight? How many kids are actually going to show up for this one if you have any teenagers in the house? Are they going to bring friends home? Are they even going to come home and eat? Do I even need to make this at all? Or are they just going to go through a drive-through somewhere? Oh, what about tomorrow at school? I need to have this form and stuff turned in. Or if you're a little bit older, when was that next doctor's appointment? Lord, I can't remember half of them anymore. Once I hit the age of 50, I started having to write down everything in my notes and tell my calendar to tell me, hey, Stelina, you need to show up here. I mean, it's just like pure crazy.
Yes, it is.
But God made us as multitaskers to think of all of these different things, didn't He?
Yes, He did.
We are a very special creation. And that's why we need to think. We do need to think when communication comes into play, because we need to slow this down. When someone comes and talks to you, do you listen? We can say yes all day long. But do you really? I've had to really just look at myself and say, did I really hear that person? A lot of times what comes out of a person's mouth, that's just a symptom of the actual problem.
Yep.
There's a deeper problem somewhere. Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay to say, I watch body language as much as I hear the words?
Yes.
Watch facial expressions.
Yes. That we speak louder with our actions than we ever say with words. A certain child, let me remember for a minute. There was when you're in the teaching field, just ask Christina, God love her, pray for you. When you're around people in general, especially when you're around little kids, and when I say little kids, I do mean all the way through high school, they will act certain ways that will let you know there's something up. And sometimes you got to get to the bottom of it. There was a year or 2 years ago, I can't remember exactly how long, a 16-year-old boy was at the school where my husband currently works. And the guidance counselor there, as well as the SRO, which is the officer that patrols the school, they were both there. They both had talked with this young man, and they said that they noticed something was just not right. He wasn't saying anything mean. He wasn't acting bad in any way, but they could just tell there's just something not right. Days earlier, he had told people off and on, and when I say days earlier, I'm talking about like for weeks, months, years. He had actually been placed in custody of his grandmother, he and his little brother. And he had shared with people, more than one person, how he was jealous of how the little brother got treated. Because little brother got treated special, where he was kind of like whatever. And that caused him to build up a resentment. That day, after that young man went home, he went home later on that night. A friend of his took him he was riding with this friend of his, so the friend took him home, and he called his little brother out in the driveway, and he beat him to death with a hammer. Then he called the grandmother out, and he did the same thing to her. And today, that SRO and that guidance counselor and those people, his teacher is still teaching in the same school, they all sit and think, what did I miss? How could I not have seen this coming? How could I not? Sometimes we get so busy that we don't really listen. As Christians, that's one of our biggest things. Now, here's something that I've also noticed, thanks to my wonderful daughter. She calls it one-upping. Have you ever met a one-upper? A one-upper is usually one of the people you never want to talk to.
That's right.
And I know this because I have been one from way back. When you've had as many sicknesses and illnesses and ailments and surgeries and things going on as I've had it all and feel like I'm about to get the rest of it. I'll tell you exactly everything that you're going through, how to deal with it, what medications to take, how often to do whatever to deal with it. Just let me know. And sometimes you don't even have to let me know if I overhear your conversation. Have you ever dealt with people like that? That's one I really have to work on. And what's really been bringing it to light here lately, we have been very blessed as a church. We've got more new babies than we've ever had as a church. All right, it's like every time I turn around, there's another one coming from somewhere, and they're precious and they're wonderful. But there is one thing that drives me absolutely insane, and that is when you have an expecting mother and somebody wants to tell them about their experience and how awful it was and how bad it was and what they went through. I want to go slap whoever is saying that right in the throat. I just want to, I'll catch them right there just to throw them to the ground a little bit and say, shut up. People don't need the bad stuff.
They need good stuff.
And why can't we focus on the good stuff? Because that's not how a human works. That is not how society works. That's not how humanity works. Humans, we were born into sin, were we not? Therefore, we naturally go to the negative side of it.
That's why we love Sister Tina. No matter what she went through.
Oh, honey, I'm blessed.
blessed.
Honey, I'm blessed every time. But do we follow that example? I've been right here and watched it way more than one time. Somebody will start to say something about something going on. Oh, Lord, I got to go have another surgery on such and such. Praise God. Haven't y'all heard that? People will be testifying or talking about anything, and let's turn it over to the, oh, woe is me. Look at me. And a lot of people will capitalize on some things for the attention.
Boy, I don't like that.
And we are very much like that. There are some times, and I bet you guys are right there with me, there are some times that I have to tell myself to shut my mouth. Just quit. They don't need to hear you. They need to focus on Scripture. When Jimmy and I are ever counseling anybody, you talk about difficult, when they're having a negative situation. See, I'm one of these people, I want to tell them, yes, I understand that. Well, let me tell you, what happened to me, but I'm trying to use it as an example of, but you can make it. You can do it.
Yes.
But really, they don't need that example told to them. They see it. So why do you have to go through the whole 15 yards of it again?
That's right.
Why not think on the positive side and say, I thank God for it? I'm the world's worst for this, okay? I told you when I'm saying this stuff to y'all, right here is the girl that needs it. Now, you turned over to Ephesians 4:29 for me, didn't you?
Yes.
Read that nice and loud.
Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers.
So, the first 3 words is let no corrupt. How would you describe that? Just those 3 words.
Gosh, corrupt's a big word. That has lots of meanings to me.
There's a lot of stuff corrupt.
Yes.
I mean, it could not just be murder, but it could be just
You see the boo-boo?
negative, anything.
You see that boo-boo? That could be corrupt. I could gripe about every single thing that I did today.
Yes, we do.
Anybody could.
Yep.
But I am doing my best to try to refuse to give the devil any credit on anything. I'm going to focus on the fact that God helped me. Every time Jimmy will just laugh. My mom, I think back about my mom. I miss her so bad. That she always used to say, I got that thin skin.
Yeah.
Lord, you just touch it, it'll just bleed. And my grandmother, I took after my mama. She had that same thin skin. I want you to look. That dog just touched me. She'd have 400 Band-Aids all over all right. See? Here, we're twinsies. And the older I get, it's a normal aging process. They call it that crepe kind of skin.
Yes.
Yeah, I hate it. But, and Mama just fussed. She'd be like, Lord, don't look at my arms. They look awful. I need to wear something long sleeved. Where's that sweater? And she'd tell my daddy, get the sweater. I need to hide this, because she was always, the fancy lady. And my grandmother was a little fancy later. I missed out on that one. But anyway, Jimmy will just laugh because every time I do a lick of physical labor, some body part tries to shoot loose, or I end up bleeding in some way. It's probably because I'm a klutz, but he'll look at me and say, I'll tell you what, it's just that thin skin. You can't help it. You inherited it just like your mama. And I'm like, that's enough. I don't need to hear it. He's like, well, you know how it is. Thin skin. You got it. And I'm like, just shut up. You leave me alone. And the first thing I thought of today, I was literally a piece of plastic, some kind of toy. I was trying to clear out a little bit from the playground, right? Well, God touched my back, like I said, on Sunday morning. I've been rejoicing ever since, feeling great ever since. And I thought, today's the day. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get some stuff done. Bless God. And I went out there and I did. I got quite a bit done. I'm pretty proud. I hope y'all go look at it as soon as you can. All right. But so I get out here and I'm dragging some of the bigger pieces and, carrying some of the little broken ones. And there's this one big piece and I couldn't get a good grip on it because, come on, it's plastic toys for kids. They're all rounded. It's not like it has an edge I can grip onto, right? I dropped the thing about 14 times between here and yon. I finally get over to a refuse pile, and I fling it over there, and then I'm like, felt like something hit me. You ever hurt yourself? You don't even know it. You're just like, it seems like there's something. Well, where'd that
Or you
blood
feel
come
a wet
from?
spot, and you're like,
Yeah. Oh, it's bled through my Band-Aid already.
Yeah, when you're on blood thinners.
I'm not on blood thinners. I'm just naturally like
I
that.
say, when you're on blood thinners.
I might as well say I'm on blood
You're like,
thinners. Doggone goody powders. But I know when I get home, my husband's going to look at that and he's going to be like, what did you do?
I don't know.
I drug a piece of rounded plastic across the yard. And he's going to look at me and he's going to say, well, honey, it's that paper thin skin you got. And then I'm going to want to hurt him. But then I look and I was bleeding from this finger. And I'm like, where did I cut my finger? And then I look and there's blood dripping from this one. And I'm like, well, what did I do there? I'm like, dear goodness, people, where is my bubble? Somebody blow that thing up and put me inside. And I'm like, nope.
Alex said one when he was getting so sick all the time. I'm like, I want to see your story, bubble.
I'm telling you. And the devil wants us to look at these things and say, well, you might have had that. I see you got a Band-Aid on you today. I got 3. I want you to look at this. Look at this. That's a 2-upper. All right. People don't need that. We need to come across with them to listen, be understanding, and say, you know what? You got this. I got faith in you. No worries.
I'm mad for that because you saw me lift it up.
And it's neon yellow. I mean, come on. Does it glow in the
She's
dark?
showing it off, see?
And there are a lot of people, God bless a lot of people we've gone to church with. My husband, you just haven't lived until you've lived with Jimmy White, okay? It's just a blessing of blessings. And I've always told people, he is pure home entertainment. Honey, if you're listening, I love you. But he is pure home entertainment. And there have been times we'll be coming through the valley. He'll look at me and say, well, so-and-so will be at church today. And I'll be like, we haven't seen them in a month. What do you think of? Oh, well, they had surgery a week ago. They'll want to get all the sympathy they can get from people. They're important now. They need to be at church. And I'll look at them and I was like, you really think so? Yeah, they'll be there. You just wait. And sure enough, we'll walk through the door and there that person will be. And usually show up early so everybody can pay them a little bit more attention. And they'll bring whatever they haven't used. I have seen people come in this church with a full arm sling that had not been to the doctor for anything. Some people like that attention. How do we make it positive? I'm guessing, anybody in here been on a hot air balloon ride?
On a what?
Hot air balloon?
Ooh, well, I'm scared of heights.
It went up like,
Okay, but you did a little bit?
I did not like it. Get me
I
down.
could be on.
Was
a
it-
top flight
Could you see a whole lot more from up there than you could from down where you started from? When it comes to communication, we all need to be in a hot air balloon. We need to see the whole thing. Don't just look at them right there and see what the deal is. Leah works with little children. My goodness, something else. They might go off and have a day and try to hit everybody in the classroom because they're hungry. She had one little boy, sugar was staying too high. Looked in his lunchbox. All he ever got for lunch was Cheetos and cheese crackers and some other snack cake and red juice every day.
Oh, red dye.
Yeah.
That's an enemy for ADHD.
And she's like,
Enemy.
there's no wonder I had to restrain this kid 5 times today. She's like, look what he's eating. You said we have to look from the hot air balloon.
Yes.
When that person that you live with, whoever it may be, they come in, they're hateful as the devil, get in the hot air balloon. I used to tell Jimmy, I'd be like, I don't know why you're talking like this to me. I didn't do nothing to you.
That's me, that's what I say, Sammy.
When he was in the Army especially, because let me tell you, sometimes you can, there are some people that are special and it's sometimes difficult, but you still have a job to do and you have to deal with it and move on. And you get away from those people and get where you're comfortable, you can let out everything that's been building up all day. Well, these fellows, when they get home, they'll let that loose. They're not attacking you. They're attacking that situation that they weren't allowed to attack the way they wanted to with a fist earlier throughout the day, right? And when he'd come home, that's when some of our best fights ever were. When he'd come home from a weekend drill. Because I'd look at him and say, yes, sir, Sergeant. Oh, and that went over well.
I bet it did.
I mean, I'd say things, I'd be like, that one wasn't really received well either. And then when getting out of the military and getting over into the whole Christian side of it, and it hasn't been that long since I've done this one, I'd look at him and say, preach on, preacher. What else you got to say to me?
You know why I say like that? Because I tell Sammy that because sometimes I think he's on his soapbox or something, and I'm like, preach, honey, preach it. And he's not even a preacher, but he just.
And we'll say things in retaliation. And that's what I want us to take from this tonight. When you start to communicate, don't use words. There are some people, dare I say even myself, if they tried to go for a day without talking, their heads would spin and blow off. It'd be a bottle rocket. Let's purpose ourselves to try better. Okay? One way that I'm going to try better, I'm going to try to give undivided attention. I'm very distracted. Everything distracts me. It's like squirrel. Everything. This is a huge distract. Okay? This is a big distractor. Leo will be talking to me and I'm like, go ahead, I hear you. And then what? What happened next? Yeah.
Bear climbed up a hill and smacked somebody in the forehead and they-
At supper time, I don't care who you're eating with.
Either way.
When someone is visiting, do the same thing. See if you can do that. I'll be the first one to tell you it's hard for me too. Very hard. So that's going to be one big thing for me. I'm going to try to give undivided attention. What's one thing? think one thing, take the next 10 seconds, think of one thing to help you communicate better. I can about see your wheels turning there, man. What's one thing that you are going to try?
I'm gonna try not to, I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. The kids listen to me more when I yell instead of,
Speak softly?
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't hear me. And I think this with them is part of the problem.
How can you work on that? You got a couple of smart boys.
Time limits.
Time limit,
That's a good thing.
have a certain time during the afternoon where we sit down and we conversate.
Yeah.
Your boys are mature enough to have pretty much an adult conversation. Have you ever just said, hey, come and talk to me for a second. I want us to work together on this. I've noticed this and I don't like it. Try that. I think that would be excellent. But that's just a suggestion. What about you, Amy? Could you?
Mine would probably be just listening more. Even though, it's part of communication. It's
Uh-huh.
like sometimes you're just like this, it's like, no,
Yeah.
put that down and like really hear what they're saying.
How can you let somebody know that you're really hearing what they're saying?
Look in their eyes.
Oh, that's a big one. Eye contact. Good one.
Now, when you're really communicating with somebody,
Yeah.
that's where you're looking. It's
Yeah.
not like you're,
I'm going to be looking at you.
Or looking at the
that's when
phone.
I can tell
Yeah.
when someone's listening or not. And then a lot of times I'll shut down if I can tell they're not really listening.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you're not hearing me anyway, so why am I talking?
Exactly.
The simple word, Tammy. Just one thing.
Probably quit multitasking and listening at the same time,
Yeah,
to actually sit down
the undivided,
one-on-one.
the undivided
Instead of over
attention.
here doing this and over there doing that.
That's
He is hollering.
It's very hard.
No, 'cause
We are multitaskers.
Yeah.
We don't slow down, and when you've raised a family, you're used to doing that constantly.
Yep.
I can understand that. We'll jump over to Miss Mary. What's one thing, Mary?
Well, right now, I don't have nobody to talk to hardly. And, I asked Amy to come over and I asked Mandy to come over and Amy.
Now, we did come over
Amy
Amy
said, yeah, Amy said, well, I'll be over there. You got nobody.
How about when you are riding to church with each other?
Oh, we talked to you, yeah, we have talked, but somebody is usually on that phone. I wouldn't today. Well, I wasn't. Not all the way though.
Maybe I'll just go on. There is something I have noticed that I will, for both of you,
Yeah.
because you act like sisters, you're sisters-in-law,
Yeah.
but you really come across as sisters. And that is where you do love each other so very greatly, you allow each other to get under each other's skin
We
quicker.
do, yeah, we do. So what we just need to do is get together and just.
Try not to allow that. Yeah, that would be a good one, real good one. What do you think, Amy?
I think the same thing. We do need under each other's skin.
But now for normal, just every person, not Mary, but just anybody else for you.
Me, my problem is, my daughter gets on me for it all the time. She'll be talking to me, she'll say, Mom, what did I say? Did you hear me? I was like, yeah, I heard you. What did I say?
What is it, you're being too distracted or you just don't
at the moment,
focus?
or she's talking to me and sometimes, I guess, like I said, there's a squirrel.
You gotta
I'm easily
slow the brain
distracted.
down.
I am too, I'm easily distracted. Cause I run.
Yeah. Well, It's Janie.
To not always be on the defensive, waiting, thinking you was.
That's beautiful. How many of us do that one?
But you know what that's about. You assume that you know what they're gonna say because you.
Does anybody else do that?
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah, we're always on the defensive. Well, I knew what you were going to say. And wait, after you've been married for 25 years, you still don't know what they're going to say. I am going to end here. I'm very glad that you guys visited with next month. It will be the third Tuesday night, okay? But I'm going to close out here and tell you guys, tell your friends, loved ones, whoever. We do this every third Tuesday. It is so much fun. I'm going to keep talking with my ladies for just a second, and we love you guys, and we're praying for you. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't checked out the new church website, it is solidrockchurchnc.com. You can go on there. The Easter pictures from this past Sunday are on there, and hope to see you guys.